Hello and welcome. We're going to get started. My name is Peter Fortunato. I am one of the founding editors of Cayuga Lake Books, and we are the proud publishers, most recently, of Salamanders in Winter by Joanna Green. You can buy the book at the cash register of Buffalo Street Books. And after the reading, there'll be a short Q&A. Of course, people can snack and drink all along the way. And then folks can come up and have their book signed by Joanna and chit-chat with her for a few moments, one-on-one. So we'll get started with the reading in just a moment. Let me tell you first about Cayuga Lake Books. So we are a local press. We have been in business for over 10 years. We have approximately 40 titles on our list, and the three most recent ones are Salamanders in Winter, which just came out, Pasquinades, which just came out, and Desert Wind, My Life in Qatar, which came out in May. So all of these books are either available here at Buffalo Street Books, or you could ask them to order them in preference to buying here at a local bookstore rather than on, that jungle that has everything. But you could also get it in the jungle. And there's another very fine independently owned bookstore in Ithaca, Odyssey, where you could also find Salamanders in Winter and our other books. Let me just tell you in particular about some of our anthologies. So over the last several years, we have published 3 landmark anthologies. From the Finger Lakes is the series we've done. So there's From the Finger Lakes a prose anthology. From the Finger Lakes a poetry anthology, which I co-edited, and I think Joanna has a poem or two.
No, it's in that.
And then very recently, last year, From the Finger Lakes, a memoir anthology, which has poetry and autobiographical personal essay type writing in it. So please ask for them at your local independent bookstore or find them in other places. Cayuga Lake Books would love your support. Individual authors would love your support. Buffalo Street Books would love your support. Love books, right? That's why we're all here. So let me tell you a little bit about Joanna Green. Sure, a lot of you know her personally because she is really a member of our community, and you have experienced her beauty and her talent in many contexts. Here is an extremely brief author's biography on the back of the book. Joanna Green explores the conundrums of living fully in the midst of societal collapse. So she's always been an activist, especially a lover of the earth, of food systems, agriculture, of working with people who have the need for nutrition and even the need simply to put a cup of coffee in front of them. She has been a homesteader as well as other things, so she has a lot of first-hand experience with agriculture. Before turning to writing and music upon retirement, she was a pioneer in the field of sustainable agriculture at Cornell University. That's the school that's on East Hill. Big place, I'm sure you've seen it. Fighting against continuing industrialization of farming and the impoverishment of rural communities. In 2010, she founded the nonprofit Groundswell Center for Local Food and Farming, one of the nation's first farmer training programs to confront the deep racial inequities embedded in our agriculture and food systems. So that's just the slightest biography about this wonderful person whom I have known probably for, I don't know, about 40 years? More than 40 years.
45.
Yes, I knew her back when she was Judy.
Wait, how many people do we as Judy?
All right, okay. All right, so I want to tell you a personal story, and then I want to read one of her short poems as a capstone to my introduction for my dear friend here. So once upon a time, when Cornell was a hipper place than it is now, I used to teach a class that was sponsored by Cornell United Religious Work, specifically CRESP, Center for Religion, Ethics, and Social Policy. And the course was called In the Dreamtime. And so we borrowed that name from the Australian Aboriginal people. Al-Karinga is a term that they have for myth time, the eternal beginning time, the mystical time that connects human beings to Earth, to our ancestors, and also to the star people who circle this planet. And in that class, gosh, was it far after what? We did guided dreaming, we did journaling, we did poetry, we played shamanic games, we went out in the woods, we did all kinds of cool stuff, and finally, when the course was over, we decided we were all still friends. We were a small tribe. Maybe we were something like a kiva, which is something like a sacred society. And it was in that course that Joanna, then Judy, always Joanna, met Arthur Godin, who is her husband of all these years. And immediately they started playing music together, and in every respect making beautiful music together. And then, as time would pass, I had the honor of performing their wedding ceremony on New Year's Eve at the old Community School of Music and the Arts, when it was on Terrace Hill, right, where that apartment house is now. And then we had a big dinner there as well. It was a memorable evening. My wife Mary and I came across some photos of us sitting at the table that night, and gosh, we're so much smaller, and our hair is so much darker. Yeah. So that brings back a lot of memories. And so what I have observed over the years as Joanna has developed as an artist is a distillation of her many values into the form of poetry. At one point, she took a poetry writing workshop with my own wife, the poet Mary Gilliland, some of you know her. And that was kind of a, that kind of swung you into that orbit, didn't it? Like, yeah, she knows how to write poetry. She's also a fantastic singer, of course. She's a fantastic violinist. She's a fantastic vibe player as well. So the language and the music came together for her as she began to write poetry conscientiously and seriously. And then out of the blue, about a year ago, she submitted to Cayuga Lake Books the manuscript that would become this book, Salamanders in Winter, which we are celebrating here today. I want to just read one poem and say a word about it before I turn you over to Joanna. Here's something that comes out of a dream, her note says on page 93. Violin Dreams is the title of the poem. Absence of red and a color red are set against the sun and a sea of green. Are these not the color of the violin? Deeper still, yes. Fathomless, the ocean plays itself string upon string and shell upon shell. The ears of butterflies tingle. Kind of nice synchronicity to have this mural. So I think what you'll find in her poetry is that there is a keen observation of nature and a love of nature and natural processes. And also there is that special something that a poet has to have where the writing is more than just description. Something special that connects the power of language to the objects observed, and to the composition of the poem itself. So please join me in welcoming to the microphone Joanna Green.
Thank you, Peter. Everyone can hear, right? Okay, thanks. Let me just say, I forgot my notes. Just a quick thing about, where this came from. I'd been writing poems on and off for a long time, and then Mary's workshop and other things sparked my interest. In 2017, wasn't that when we formed the Cascadilla Writers Group, Barbara? Barbara, raise your hand. Barbara's been this incredible spark for a lot of us. We meet every Monday morning, 9:30 for a couple of hours and write. And so that's been great. But yeah, so these poems are really all over the place. The last several years have been really, really difficult for all of us, I think. Just trying to figure out how to live amidst what's going on. So my poems are like, some of them are pretty dark and frustrated and discouraged, and others not so much. But in putting together the book, I was struggling with how to sort of make some kind of structure or organization of it. And so I ended up with this kind of an arc that's sort of biblical, actually. Starts off with a bunch of poems that I'm calling In the Garden, various celebrations or descriptions of being here. And then there's The Fall, which has a lot of dark, a lot of frustration. A section called The Fight, how we respond. And then a section called Redemption, the various ways of saving ourselves. And then a couple sort of other miscellaneous sections in the back. But in real life, of course, it doesn't go in an arc. These things are just, it's a constant struggle. And in these really dark times, I would have to say this collection of poems doesn't provide much of an antidote. I do want to mention another book that's for sale here. My great friend Elon Shapiro has a good antidote for those of us activists who are really struggling to stay engaged and stay inspired and call in the ancestors and keep the fight up, which we must do. This is a good one. So, with that, I will start on page 6, if you have your book. And this is in the garden section. I'll do a few from each section as we go. April Garden, it's called. Ah, the April garden. Long, dark beds in straight lines. Cold ground, not yet festooned with weeds. A towering trellis awaits the infant peas who peek out from their dark coverlets. How leisurely I float from task to task. Too soon to plant tomatoes, beans, potatoes. Too soon to mow the grass. Too soon to be tired of it all and overwhelmed by peaches rotting on the tree. Another literal garden poem, this one on page 4, called Garden of Ghosts. Soon I'll sink a spade in cold spring soil on a day that calls me out with sun, and a warmer wind will blow up from the south, where the daffodils have come and gone. Under the boxwoods by the gate, the wide brick pathway leading to the lily pool, and beyond that, out into my grandparents' garden, where he stops to wipe his brow among the okra, pulling from his pocket a white handkerchief, which seems somehow always clean, and she bends low with back so straight and knees so bent, picking a mess of green beans. I had to shiver for a minute because my grandparents came to me. The last one in this section brings it to a close, brings the garden to a close before the fall. Polaroid children. Just look at us before the fracture into light and dark, before the peeling corners of memory, before our time ran backwards. Okay, the next few are from the fall section. Sorry, page 19, thanks, Peter. Okay, this one is called September 11. 19 years later, the air is chilled, sky a thickened gray, the kind of day that invites sorrow. Unlike the day that split the world, split history before and after, stole the rose-colored glasses I still can't find. The day is brilliant, azure gold. I am in a copy shop doing something important, I think, like all the others, until the TV catches our eyes. What we see is impossible. On such a blue sky day, we stop breathing, transfixed. We watch the tiny speck in clear blue sky, then the billowing smoke, hear the voices of confusion and disbelief, and still the sun shines on as if in blessing. The jeweled air so crisp, so energized with possibility. You couldn't dream up such perfection. I don't know about you, but I've spent a lot of sleepless nights in the last few years. Here's one called Sleepless. The mind, a soft, split lip, still throbbing. Tongue of thought probes gently along the ragged edge, testing what pain can be borne, what is too much. That was page 23. Okay, this one is on page 26, Prayer for the Disillusioned. I got a lot of poems in the fall section. Prayer for the Disillusioned. Let the soft snow come. Let it drift down the windless air, settling flake upon flake in the curving hollows of fallen leaves, filling each space between blades of grass, rising until only the slightest tips of green remain, until they too are gone, until the silent whiteness mounts to doorstep, window, roof, until we are covered over and forgotten. Okay, the last one from this section is called Illusion. Sorry, page number 36. I have escaped to my yacht, Tranquility. Before me, the nubile spring bathes herself in filigree of green and daffodil. I have put aside the news for all of this, hidden away my grindstones. I float above, beyond fear, eluding mayhem like an oligarch. Tell me when to quit. The next section is called The Fight, various forms of fighting back. And this is the longest one for tonight, called Instructions for Getting Through the Month of March. And it's perfect for today as well. Page number 43. Here's another gray, wet day. Cold. The kind that brings April flowers down the road, but meanwhile presents simply as dark and miserable. You do not have to go where it points into a hole. Instead, consider the sounds of water trickling, gurgling as it moves across the landscape. The raindrops plish as it completes its long journey from the clouds
to the puddle in your yard. The puddle swelling and overflowing across the lawn, through the culvert under the drive, across another lawn and into the little swamp where the peepers will sing down the road. Consider how it percolates deep into soil and finds itself taken up by a root of the big willow, is lifted through smooth tubes high into the branches, and lodges for the time being inside the cell of a future leaf, vibrating inside a tight bud. This is how the mind, considering all the goodness implicit in a rainy day, can overcome the gut, which wants only to sink into itself and draw down the heart's ease, lubricate itself with sluggishness. Do not go down there. You may look into the hole, as you are doing, but do not lean over. The back must stay straight, the knees slightly bent, the mind ready at all times to turn and run. Okay, the next section, redemption. Okay, good. This, I don't know if this will make sense to anybody, but if you meditate, well, I think about death a lot, and sometimes it helps to like actually think, this could be my last moment. This one is called Impermanence. Page number 55. I am a dead man, tasting the last hot mug of tea, feeling the soft slide of lips against tongue like a lover's. I am a dead man, walking the last mile, the rosary of footsteps, kissing all the shapes of the mother with my feet. I am a dead man, with devouring eyes that cry out to the last landscape, beseech the last red bird in snow. Thank you, Dwayne. This was, Daphne's not here, is she? Daphne Sola. This was one of her favorites, so think of her. Prayer for the world. Is there a center that will hold as the gyre widens and falcons fly beyond the falconer's call? Excuse me. Beyond the falconer's call, outward towards the empty light, things fall into the abyss. All plans and certainties we held, all assurances we gave and were given. Our comfortable skin is shed, its dry fragments reeling in the wind. What's left is our nakedness, and gravity curving in upon itself. A collapsing star still radiating music of the spheres, an infinitesimal space between annihilation and redemption, between what was and what might be. Is there still a center that might hold? I think I'll just end with one more. I think I will end on one more, and it's on page 61. Called When All Else Fails. Excuse me. When all else fails, there are still these beautiful hands, these old hands of mine. I watch them moving in the sun, the brightening sun, on the last day of February. Pen shadowed and sinewy, the wrinkled geography, the sagging softness flows so gracefully among the mounding joints and clefts. We're still here, my dearies, my faithful, my beloveds. The sun glistens along these fingers who wiggle to say, yes, we're all still here. Thank you so much. I know a number of people actually have to leave, no worries at all. Thank you so much for coming, but if you can stay, grab some snacks. Thanks, Edward. And we'll have a couple of questions.
Yeah. So we have time for some questions as we also socialize and enjoy the wonderful refreshments Arthur and Joanna have provided. Does anybody have a question to start?
What are your poetic inspirations? The poets who have inspired your style?
Oh, interesting. I'm actually pretty illiterate in terms of, I never studied English, I never took literature courses or anything, so I've learned from the poetry group that Barbara leads, and so that's all I'll say. I'm learning a little bit as I go, but I couldn't say that I have any particular inspiration. I might think of something, but yeah.
That
Elaine.
said, is the reference to the center holding a reference to Yeats?
Yes.
I thought so.
Yes.
I have a very specific question. When you paused in your poem about the grandparents, I've been gone for many years, but I grew up in the South, and I heard you reference okra. So I was wondering where the okra was being grown and whether you had roots here or.
Very perceptive, yes. So okra, the boxwoods, well, we have boxwoods here, but we never did when I was a kid. So yes, North Carolina, to be specific. That's where my grandparents were, and we would go down. We grew up in the Northeast, but we would go down frequently. That was the home base.
You took me back ahead for my grandparents in the South.
Yeah, thank you. Fred, so good to see you.
Good to see you too. Let's talk a little bit about the fact. I mean, on one hand, you got into poetry, but I think when you're talking about music and so on, and you sing beautifully. In some regards, that's the poet in you. It's always been in you, irrespective of whether you're labeled poetry. And I'll talk a little bit about that side of you.
Thanks, Fred. The first thing that comes to mind is really interesting because I find myself completely unable so far to write lyrics and put poetry and music together in a way that some people like Molly McMillan are extremely good at. So I can write poetry and I can improvise the hell out of whatever, I like to play music, but I can't somehow put them together in composing and composing something that has words. But other than that, I think that the ear that one has for music is related to the ear for language. So in some way. Andrea, I have your book.
Anything else? Yes. Oh, wait, did you have a follow-up?
No, but you're a wonderful singer, and you put out a CD, and there were words there and so on. I mean, where did those come from?
Oh,
I mean,
those are
I
other
don't
writers.
think they were yours necessarily, but I'm just saying.
Yeah.
You
My
were
husband,
representing
Art,
someone.
he's the great songwriter in the family,
Oh, okay.
Art.
I didn't
And
know.
then, yeah, thanks.
Terry, it's the brevity. I love the brevity. I won't ask you how you work to get just the right words in the right amount, but I also couldn't help noticing the color references, especially the first one, the red and the green. And I don't know why I'm saying that, except that you're an artist. Yeah, I couldn't miss those references.
I love that you chose that poem because it's one of those poems that makes absolutely no sense in a way. It literally came to me in a dream. So it's verbatim because I took what I got. But it makes no sense, but yeah.
And she loved it.
And she didn't say that.
Anybody else?
What's next for you, Joanna?
Oh, wow.
Another book of poems?
Uh,
I know you're gigging musically.
Yeah. Thanks for asking. Wayne in the back, raise your hand. Wayne and I are part of a new jazz band called Green Street Jazz, and we're going to be starting to gig more regularly at Brookton's Market. Do we know when yet? some confusion.
I
Dwayne,
think the 13th and the 27th this month.
that'll be us.
Yeah.
Okay, we're alternating with Dwayne's band. But then I'm also
But
gonna
check
sing with,
Barb.
I'm also gonna sing with Dwayne in March or something, right?
That's in March.
Sometime.
Downstairs.
So yeah, no, it's really, I'm so thankful. I mean, I'm gonna turn 70 in March, and like this is, I finally realized I can have my own band. You know, and it's really exciting to me to be a band leader and figuring that all out and getting to sing. And we sang, Wayne and I and some others sang, played at the downstairs last night, and it's just such a joy. Cat. So yeah, that's what there'll be a lot of music and some poetry. I don't know if it'll be published or when. And I have to get back engaged in the fight for survival, political survival, social survival, ecological survival. So I'm going to get in it again.
Yeah, I don't think you were ever out of it. Okay, that's great. So another round of applause. So there are plenty of copies of Salamanders in Winter for sale, and Joanna's going to sign copies up here, and folks hang around and enjoy some of the victuals. And thanks to Buffalo Street Books, buy some books while you're in a bookstore, Cayuga Lake Books, but also other books, and have a wonderful day. Thank you for being here.